Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. Today I thought we'd take a unique journey and discover what the solar body method is for people to craft their own solar body that self-charges with limitless energy. We'll get renewed passion as well as a zest for life as well as glowing vitality that reaches beyond our physical health. The method is a combination of doing simple visualization, movements, breathing, and observation of the mind. Joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is the founder of Gaia Flowing Consulting, which is a leadership and organizational development consultancy, where our guest brings a unique blend of corporate leadership experiences and spiritual studies to find balance and integration between the material and spiritual dimensions of life. She is also the owner and head instructor of Body and Brain Holistic Wellness and Meditation Center, which is located in Southern California, and has extensive experience as former director of training for Citibank, California. And she is one of Ilchi Lee's senior students and has led many workshops and trainings based on Ilchi Lee's brain education system of personal development. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our special guest who's going to talk with us about the solar body, Ms. Fatima Bustos Choi. Fatima, thank you for being on the program today.
Thank you, Daniel.
You have such an impressive record. Why aren't you getting all the credibility in this?
Thank you for your kind words. I'm a practicing student of Ilchi Lee, and I kind of migrated from the corporate world into this world of more holistic well-being, holistic lifestyle, holistic living, and I love it.
Now, as you were in the corporate world, certainly you get to be, let's call it, in two different worlds. What was going on there that maybe had you looking in different directions, sort of almost asking the what, and is there more to this life than this? What was going on there?
Well, there was a lot going on. Of course, in the beginning, I was totally unaware of it. I was so much in my head. I was totally disconnected from my body, but I had no idea that I was. And I think that somehow there came a time when my soul urgently wanted me to stop and search. So I was truly on a journey of searching for my soul for many, many years. And I studied with a number of spiritual teachers, Native Lakota teacher in New Mexico. I studied with a Mayan shaman. I studied with a Taoist master. And then finally I arrived here studying with Ilchi Lee. So it's been a long journey.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way, especially as we were talking about all the things you did before. That's why I wondered, there must have been something that really drew you to go in this direction with your life.
Well, I was in this direction until there was a death in the family unexpectedly, and even with all the other trainings that I have had prior to that, when this situation, the death of a family member occurred, and I was completely depleted, physically, emotionally, mentally, and then spiritually. And that was sort of the primary impetus. It was really to regain my health, to regain my sense of being, to regain hope, to regain my passion back for life, that there was more to it than the success of the corporate world or the success of the material world, that there was more to it. And I, even though I studied with many teachers, maybe I wasn't ready to incorporate it until I got to learn about Ilchi Lee's energy work. And today we are going to be talking about the solar body. So it has been a tremendous help for me. That's an understatement. It truly changed my life, and it helped me to connect with my true purpose, which is what I am living now and doing now.
You know, I think, too, that as you decided to move in this direction, as you said, there was an idea that you had about life, you know, corporate success, material gain, things like that. And I'll bet that as you moved in this different direction, you began to question, where did those particular beliefs in the way life should be really come from? Did that ever occur to you?
You know, the thing is, and interestingly enough, Daniel, you're asking me these questions, and I know we're going to be talking about solar body, but yes, to a certain extent, where did these beliefs come from? For me, I just took them as though they were. I was kind of programmed to pursue, to climb the corporate ladder, to chase the American dream. And Ilchi, in his latest book, I've decided to live 120 years, explains that at a very early age we were conditioned that this was going to be the direction of our lives. Until, if we get lucky, we stop and we say, wait, no, this isn't it, or this is only part of it, but this is not all of it. And I think I was blessed to be able to realize that in my life. And I clearly remember how much longing I had to really find my soul. And I remember the Native American teacher, Howard Gadhand, I was studying with, he said, don't worry, you will. Don't worry. And I said, how, when? I was kind of impatient. And he said, you just keep going. And it's true. At some point, we do meet with that true self. Not without work, of course, but that is a promise that can be fulfilled if we follow that path. And for me, Ilchi's work, which I believe, of course, have been paved by the work of the other spiritual teachers that I was fortunately, studied with. Now like the buck stopped right here. It was time for me to stop learning, and it was time for me to start living what I have been learning all along. One of the masters told me once, she said, Fatima, stop training. Start to walk with us.
Yeah, because they'll spend a whole lot of time doing that work and realize, well, wait a minute, but you're not actually applying this to how this really works in life. And so that really changes it quite a bit, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Ilchi says your knowledge is useless unless you apply it, which is true, which is very true.
Now, let's go ahead because I know that I have the book in front of me. It's called The Solar Body. It's the Secret to Natural Healing. Let's talk about what the solar body is specifically.
Okay. It's interesting because when you just say that, people might go, huh? What's that, right?
Yeah, but think about this. We got the sun. Without the sun, we don't have life, and we actually take in the sun's energy in many different ways all the time. In fact, without it, I don't think we'd do too well.
Well, you're absolutely right. And so we can see it. We can relate to solar in so many different ways. Solar panels, solar energy, but solar body, it's a little bit intriguing for people. But I think solar body is the term given by the author Ilchi in the Solar Body book. And it means someone who recovers his or her natural healing power. Of course, connecting with the goodness of the earth and human nature. The whole idea is that we create our own health and happiness. And if we do that, and if we connect within ourselves and with nature around us, we can truly shine like the sun, and we can be bright, we can be healthy and happy. For me, I translate this to mean that each of us has an innate an integral capacity to make ourselves healthy instead of relying on external means to make us healthy and happy, of course, and more importantly, to heal ourselves when needed. Sadly, I think especially in the Western world, we're so focused on instant gratification. And as a result of that, we, in a way, abdicate the responsibility of being healthy onto, either doctors or meds instead of taking that responsibility within ourselves and finding ways of accessing our natural healing capacities. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. In fact, I was just thinking as you were saying all that we tend to bring a lot of stress into our lives. And I think a lot of it sometimes is just something that we create. Now, most people might think, no, that's not true. But really think about how much you think about something that's either already happened or you think is going to happen. See, that's self-induced stress. It's not necessary.
Yep.
So let's talk about why stress isn't really such a good thing for us to have, especially when it comes to healing.
Yes. In fact, stress is one of the main things that disrupts and blocks our natural healing system. At the same time, of course, stress is part of life, right? I mean, it's not realistic to say my goal is to not have stress because then that means you're dead. So stress is part of life. I think a certain amount of stress is actually good for us. I know sometimes I need a little bit of stress to kind of push me and motivate me. When it becomes harmful, when stress is harmful, when it becomes chronic, unreleased, and prolonged. Why? Under chronic, prolonged stress, our what's called ANS, autonomous nervous system, which is in essence our life's balancing system, gets severely compromised. So the autonomous nervous system, of all the books that talk about stress, the Solar Body book to me explains this so well. So let me share. The autonomous nervous system consists of two distinct parts: the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for fight or flight. You know that, right? When something happens, we either we jump, and then we either flee or we fight. And sometimes that's absolutely needed. Like if you're about to get in a car accident, all your senses are heightened, all the internal organs functions are heightened because it's a warning signal you're in danger. Okay, so it tells us. Now, the other side of the ANS is the parasympathetic, which is responsible for rest, digestion, and healing. The problem with chronic stress is the sympathetic part of the nervous system is constantly on. I liken that to your car. You arrived home, you put it in the garage, but you still have it on. The engine is still on. And which, of course, over time, that's not going to last, right? Your engine will break down. So we stop, the body learns that, and it needs to stop to rest, to digest, and to heal. So when we have chronic stress, the sympathetic part of the nervous system is heightened, and it continues to be on, even when the stress is no longer there. It's just, especially how we live our lives these days, there's so much stimuli that create all kinds of stressors for us. And if we don't train ourselves to manage the sympathetic nervous system, then it is constantly on, and the parasympathetic gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Then it creates an energetic imbalance in our system, which is the number one and root cause of all diseases.
Wow, it's just amazing to think about all that. I understand that there are three elements of our natural healing power. We have temperature, breathing, and mind. Now, tell us why temperature is important for our natural healing power.
Yeah, I think this is something that people don't think about, right? I mean, people are aware of breathing and, of course, aware of the mind, and, why we need to meditate and why, breathing is almost an autonomous function. But temperature is something that people just don't think about. And so why is it important? It's because when we raise our temperature, and there are times we need to do that intentionally. This is why the solar body is so helpful, is for us to raise our temperature intentionally, because when we do that, even if it's just 1 degree Celsius, it helps us to increase the immune system in the body. Okay, there's research done by Japanese immunologist Dr. Abu. The immune system is strengthened. He says it's strengthened 5-fold when the body temperature increases. And conversely, the body gets weakened when we are cold. You can feel that, right? Like when you're cold, what happens? Just feel like even right now, if I'm cold, my body like constricts. I fold my arms. I almost go in fetal position because in a way, intuitively, I want to create heat, but cold energy constricts the muscles and prevents the flow of energy, whereas increasing the body temperature expedites the metabolism because energy can flow rather than gets frozen. It's as simple as that. So the heat in the body improves the energy efficiency, generating more energy. Also, when the body is warm, the internal organs function so much better, so much better. That's why they also say, when people live in areas where there's no sun, which means it's cold, right? Most of the time, colder temperature, doom and gloom temperature, suicide rate is higher, or depression rates are higher. So increasing the body temperature helps create more positive emotions and kind of activates your passion and your motivation. So at the physical level, it helps us to the internal organs to operate more efficiently and effectively. At the emotional level, it activates our positive emotions. And at the mental level, it helps us to see more of the joy of life, I think. Now, could be because I also like the heat, but I think intuitively that's something that we are drawn to. And solar body exercises help to raise our temperature.
Yeah, that seems to make a lot of sense. I know certainly being out in the sunshine a lot more often than not certainly makes people feel a lot more positive, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you just watch people at the beach versus people in in a cold climate, there's you can see the body language is quite different.
Now, in the book, Solar Body, it describes water up, fire down as an optimal energy state. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, that sounds like another weird term, right?
No, actually, it makes a lot of sense. But, for people when they really look at the biology of who we are, just like when you were describing about heat, temperature, and even sunshine, just realize what is your mood on a sunny day versus a rainy one. I mean, just use that concept or that point of view alone, and you'll realize that this isn't as weird as it sounds.
Yeah, so water up, fire down is a principle, and it is the optimal state of what we call energetic balance. And what that means is that, well, let me put it this way. Heat, as you may know, heat naturally rises, right? So in your home, when you turn the heater on downstairs, if you are in the second story, the heat automatically rises up. That is true of our body and with our body. Same is true with the human body. Heat naturally rises. Where does it rise? It rises in the head. So if you're okay with this, Daniel, may I just have you touch the back of your neck?
Okay.
Can you tell me how what you feel?
It kind of feels mellow, like it doesn't feel warm. It just kind of feels, I guess, room temperature.
Okay, well, that's good. So most of the time, because heat naturally rises in the head, a lot of people will have warmer heads and warmer necks. So
hence the term hothead, right?
Yeah. So when this happens and heat stays in the head, the person can experience, as you just said, hot-headedness. And of course, we've known people, maybe even ourselves at times, when we've gotten a hot head, we've become emotional, angry, or sensitive, kind of negative energy, actually. So in this case, our natural healing power is weakened. When the temperature rises to the head and stays in the head, some indicators: our mouths are dry, the heart beats faster, the person cannot breathe well, and often because the head is hot, the person could make wrong decisions, right? So what happens? Water up, fire down means water up. We need to cool the head. We need to bring the heat that has accumulated in the head. We have to bring it down. And the thing is, it won't naturally go down, because the natural condition is for heat to rise up. So we have to be intentional at bringing this hot energy from the head down to the belly. So that is what's called fire down. So water up, cooling the head, bringing that heat down, that fire down to the belly. So when we're able to do that with simple exercises, it facilitates the functioning of all the organs and of course clears your head. So the brain is more active, and the brain is what we call a power brain. The person is more level-headed, thinks calmly and clearly, and able to, really access the wisdom that we have inside. So because of stress inhibits this natural energetic cycle. Why and how? Because when you think about it, when you are stressed, your body stiffens, right? The neck, the shoulders, the chest, and as a result, this constriction blocks the flow of energy. And because this heat already is rising up, then the neck is stiff, the chest is constricted, then that energy stays and gets stuck from the chest up, and then stays up in the head, creating enormous heat. So we have to keep bringing this energy down, this hot energy down to the belly. And we call that process, this energetic balance created by water up, fire down, happy cow. Do you like that? Happy cow. Cool head, open heart, and warm belly. So that's what we need to ascribe to. That's what we need to work to be in that state of energetic balance.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense, too. Now, I know that in the book, the solar body has what you can consider to be a series of exercises. Let's talk about the method itself.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually quite simple, and all the exercises here are doable. Of course, the very first one is sunlight meditation, okay? Or simply really being out in nature and barring, of course, knowing that there are some times in the day that it's not that good to be out in the sun. But if you have to, make sure that you have, protection, whether it's a hat or, lotion, suntan lotion, and so forth. But the idea here is the first one is sunlight meditation, connecting with nature, connecting with the sun that gives us life. And it's simply sitting maybe 5-10 minutes. What's optimal is really at sunrise, if you can do that. But, of course, in our very busy lives, I myself have a hard time doing that. I'm at my center pretty much all day, so I have to make it a point to go outside, even if it's in the parking lot, just to sit and breathing in and breathing out and imagine the life-giving particles of the sun, coming in through the top of your head, down to your chest, down to your lower abdomen. So sunlight meditation, excuse me. The second one is using what Ilchi calls solar energy circuit training. Circuits are patterns in which cosmic energy moves in the larger cosmos, as well as inside our bodies. And the principle here is that these circuits, which then are specific forms of waves, energetic waves, create specific results for specific energies when it is combined with the mind. So this is where, in some ways, visualization comes into play also, knowing these circuits, and these are explained so well in the book also. But like in the last month or so, we have been training using what's called the Z waves and Z circuit waves. And there is simply the Z circuit waves are like the letter Z, Z for zebra, Zorro. Just imagining the letter Z kind of, from the top of your head or from the lower abdomen and from every part of your body. And the Z waves are designed to eradicate, toxins accumulated in the internal organs, negative emotions in the heart, as well as negative emotions in the brain. So the energy circuit training is the second part of the solar body method. And the third one, very simply, solar body exercises. And there are 3 that are recommended. They're easy, they're fun, but very powerful. The first one is called plate balancing. And so people can also check this out on YouTube, plate balancing. But the whole idea of plate balancing is increasing the flexibility of the body. So the solar body exercises are designed to increase body flexibility. When the body is flexible, energy can circulate better. That's so key. It's not just for flexibility's sake, but it's really for alignment and circulation. The second one is called toe tapping. So you can do this sitting or lying down, bringing the legs together, bringing the heels, and tapping the big toes. Very simple, but it's so powerful. the main thing is it brings the energy down to your feet, and it helps people to be more grounded. It helps, of course, to strengthen the core and the lower body. And I have found that a lot of our members who do toe tapping helps them a lot with sleep as well as weight loss.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's kind of one of the best kept secrets is toe tapping. And it also helps to release gas in the body because the fingertips and toe tips are what's called exit points in the body where unwanted energy can be released. And the last one is the brain wave vibration. So these three exercises make up the solar body exercises. Brainwave vibration is again very simple exercise, but it's specifically we just talked about water up, fire down, right? It's brainwave vibration is the key exercise to bring that hot energy from the head down to the belly. So and it also helps with calming the mind, calming the brain, stopping the thinking, because I don't know about you, but most people really, myself included, think a lot. Think.
Either that or we're listening to voices in our head, creating scenarios about things that either haven't happened or have already happened.
Exactly. So brainwave vibration helps to stop that and calms the mind and again brings the energy from the head down to the belly.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to think about a lot of this, and I guess in the book Ilchi Lee talks about becoming a solar body that helps our planet become healthier, and I can just tell by what you're sharing here that it just makes sense, because when you're feeling better, you tend to do more positive things, you have more positive actions, even people begin to feel and sense and see your light. Let's talk a little bit more about this idea from the perspective, especially since you're like one of his, if not his lead trainer, what that philosophy means.
Well, it's and in some ways, having lived the other side, I mean, of course, it's not like I've abandoned that side of the corporate world. I actually still do teach. I teach in a couple of companies.
That's a world that can certainly use more of it, that's for sure.
Well, I feel like that's actually the next frontier, but sadly there's a kind of a lot of hesitation, resistance, because anyway, that's another subject. But having come from that world where most of our satisfaction comes from material, external resources, and as a result, we tend to consume. We tend to consume a lot. We buy a lot. We use a lot, especially in this country. And then what do we do with all that? We don't consume everything, so it winds up creating more waste. And so whether it's food, whether it's clothing or entertainment, these are all different stimuli that we seek in order for us to have a sense of satisfaction. Well, when we focus too much on that side, not only are we not completely satisfied, because the very nature of these things are limited and insatiable and not sustainable, and then we want more and more and more of that. And in the process, where do we take that? We're taking it from the earth. Where do we take all of these things that are manufactured from the earth? And so whatever these external material things that we obsess about creates a lot of stress for the earth. And when we don't have that connection with the earth, we see the earth as our supplier, as and we're not even really grateful for it. We just keep taking. Yeah. When we start to connect with our true nature, of which that true nature is we are one with the earth, when we start to find our inner satisfaction comes from within, comes from nature, comes from our soul, less from the external world, then we start to truly go inside and we start to not only access, that's what the solar body is about, not only access our inner limitless sense of possibilities within us, but we also now connect with the beauty and the goodness of nature. Now, our source of meaning, fulfillment, and satisfaction now comes from within and comes from the earth. And we start to really see the earth not as a supplier and not as something that we take advantage of, but truly start to see the earth as part of us, that we and the earth are one. And when we can truly, sincerely, honestly see that, not only would we have deep gratitude, but take care of the earth, be responsible for the earth, not continually taking, but we need to give back to the earth. We need to take care of the earth. And so in that sense, we start to make some changes, lifestyle changes, even as simple as less consumption. Don't buy too many things, because these things are manufactured using Earth's resources. Let's eat organically instead of producing so much that's kind of fed and genetically modified, right, in order to satisfy our insatiable appetites. So we need to start to change our lifestyles to revolve and to focus more on the natural healing power of the earth as well as ourselves. So I think if we really look at the whole message of the Solar Body book is that we are one with the earth. We are one with the solar system. We are part of the solar system, and we need to access the innate and integral healing capacities of this solar system that's within us and around us. And when we do that, we are more mindful and we are much more intentional, and we are much more caring about not just ourselves, but about each other, and then, of course, about the earth.
Very well said, that's for sure. I mean, we're an extension of Earth. We are the stewards, which means not that we're in control or masters, but we are actually responsible, knowing what we're capable of, and maybe not in a good way, to be stewards of being sure that it's taken care of, so it's for the next several generations as well. So,
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, this is something everybody should actually pick up. The book is called The Solar Body. It's the secret to natural healing for the listeners out there. And if you want to find out more, I'm sure Fatima's going to tell us a website that we can all go to where we can find out how we can get a copy of this book and more about what goes on here with Ilchi as well as Fatima.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Simply go to www.changeyourenergy.com. And there we have all the resources, we have the books, we have the tapes, we have lectures, It's a wealth of wonderful, valuable resources for our natural healing, natural health, and creating happiness and peace.
Well, very good. Fatima, it's been a pleasure to have you back here on the program again today.
Thank you, Daniel. Me too. Great to talk with you again.
Yeah, we'll have to look forward to the time where we can maybe meet up with you in Sedona.
I would love that. Yes,
I would too, actually.
great.
So we'll have to make that
Thank
happen.
You so much.
Fatima,
Yes.
thank you again.
Thank you, Daniel.
You bet. We
have
want
a
to
good,
thank you.
Rest of the week.
You too.
Bye-bye.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. You can also discover more at beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. We do encourage you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter so that you can stay up to date with what's going on in the world of Beyond 50 as well as our upcoming shows. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.